Hi everyone, this is Sharifa Tharp from ST Law Office, and I'm also here with Noelia, who will be doing the translations in Spanish during the live show. So, this show is about you. I want you to ask all your nagging immigration questions today. Now is your chance. In the meantime, I will also be giving you some general information about very important topics that will help you to make decisions about whether you need to seek legal advice or if you can find a solution to your particular problem. But in the meantime, definitely ask your questions. I'm going to be keeping tabs on the comment box to look for your questions. You can ask your questions in English, Spanish, whatever you're comfortable in, and I'll answer the questions.
Entonces, les queremos recordar que este espacio es para ustedes. Siéntanse seguros para hacer todas sus preguntas. Además de eso, vamos a dar información general sobre cosas importantes que te pueden ayudar a tomar decisiones para ver si necesitas ayuda legal o para encontrar la solución a tu problema particular. Pero por mientras, siéntanse cómodos para hacer todas las preguntas que quieran hacer. Estamos atentas a los comentarios. Pueden preguntar en inglés o en español.
Awesome. And I do see, I believe it's Jurina Bernard. Hi, Jurina. Thank you for joining in. Feel free to ask your questions as I go along. I'm glad that you're here. I'm looking forward to your question. So in the meantime, go ahead and ask your questions. I am going to be talking and I will definitely stop and answer your questions as soon as your question comes in. Hi. Okay, so today I want to talk about a little known family-based option for a green card. It's an option that it's not the first thing that comes to individuals' minds, and that is the VAWA green card. So it is a green card that is available to the spouses of US citizens or permanent residents, the children of US citizens or permanent residents, and the parents of US citizen children 21 and over. Okay, great. I see a question, so let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and read it. So I'm a petition for my husband. He is in Haiti. I believe that's Haiti. I am in the US and filled out the I-130 form. I missed 2 questions when I got back on the website. Do you think they will, is that accepted? So there are some questions that are required in the application. And it just depends on if those questions were required questions and you missed those questions, I have seen where they reject the petition for missed questions. However, I don't know when you filed this, but did you receive a notice, a receipt of notice of receipt, basically saying that they received your I-130 form and they are currently processing it, or did you just send it? Okay, in the meantime, I'm gonna try to answer it just based on my, okay, so you did receive the receipt notice. So that means that they did accept it. So the next question is, what questions did you miss? I mean, that is something that I wouldn't get into detail here, but what I would say is whether or not they're able to continue with the application processing or whether they're going to deny it, or whether they're going to send you what's called a request for evidence. Is I filled this out and sent it September 30th. I attached a I-130 form with it. Okay. So, so it sounds like you are now, did you attach the I-130 to the I-485 form, so the adjustment of status form? Oh, okay, I see. It's the I-130A form. Okay. So the fact that you got the receipt notice means that they have received it, they accepted it. The next thing is, question is whether they're going to get, they're going to send you further correspondence asking for more information. So that, that may be the next issue, but that is something that I wouldn't be able to get in detail about unless I actually saw the documentation, what you missed, and I was brought up to speed in detail. So if this is something that you're very concerned about, definitely give my office a call at 561-405-4889 to schedule a consultation, and I can go in detail with you to see what was missed and what the consequences, if any, will occur as a result of that. So thank you for your question, and just be on the lookout for further correspondence. And as I said before, if in doubt, definitely get legal help. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and continue with the family-based relief that I was talking about. And that is based on the family relationship that I had described before, which is based on the it's based on excuse me. Okay, so we're gonna continue. So let's continue with what I was saying about the family-based immigration, and Noelia will also explain what I'm explaining. So it's based on a family relationship. So if you're the spouse of a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, if you are the child of a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, or you are the parent of a U.S. U.S. citizen child 21 or over, then you could possibly qualify for this.
Bueno, entonces hoy vamos a hablar de una opción poco conocida que está basada en las relaciones familiares para conseguir la tarjeta verde. Podés aplicar para esta si sos cónyuge de un ciudadano o residente, o si sos hijo de un ciudadano o residente, o si sos el padre de niños menores de 21 años que no están casados, que son ciudadanos o residentes.
Awesome. So I have another question here, and it is, so I think this is, can you petition for your brother or your sister by petition and by adoption? So a U.S. citizen can sponsor their brother or sister by adoption. They do not have to be blood relatives. Of course, you definitely have to prove the relationship, and a part of proving that relationship is to show perhaps the legal adoption, or that there is a real sibling relationship involved. But that a part of that would be to to prove that that brother or that sibling relationship is real. And it's like not necessarily just for the purpose of petitioning someone to come to the United States. But you also have to be a U.S. citizen in order to qualify for that. However, keep in mind that it's a very long process, so you have to you will have to be very invested. Right now, it's taking about 14 years.
Bueno, la pregunta que entró, preguntaban si se puede peticionar para un hermano adoptivo, si vos sos residente o ciudadano, y la respuesta es que sí se puede, no hace falta que sean familiares de sangre, pero siempre y cuando que se pueda demostrar que son verdaderamente hermanos. Sí tienen que tener en cuenta que es un proceso muy largo.
Right. Thank you again, Jarina, for that question. Okay, so now if you are still undocumented and you have this family relationship, then the next question would be, oh, so you have another question. So this the second question is okay, so I'm gonna put it up. The second question I missed was did gain lawful permanent resident status through marriage of the U.S. Okay, I'm going to need a little more clarification, so I'm gonna just, you can correct me along the way. Is it, can you gain lawful permanent resident status through marriage to a U.S. citizen? Or is it through marriage to a permanent resident? So what I'm going to go ahead and do is answer the question the way I understand it. And Jarina, feel free to clarify or correct me if I'm not answering your question correctly. And Noelia, of course, will, okay, here it is. Okay, so the first I'm going to answer is this one, and then I'll go on to the third question. Okay, so with this, one can gain permanent resident status through marriage to a U.S. citizen and through marriage to a lawful permanent resident. So both can work. Now, the difference between the two is with a U.S. citizen in the United States, you don't necessarily have to maintain a legal status. So you could be here and you could overstay your visa and wait and still apply for the green card here and wait for the process to be completed here, and you would not face repercussions. Now, unless you entered the country unlawfully. I'm gonna I'll give Noelia a chance to translate. I'm sorry, I need to slow down.
It's okay, thanks. Bueno, en los comentarios entró una pregunta que era si te casabas, si podías obtener la tarjeta verde casándote con alguien que era ciudadano o residente permanente. Y ella, bueno, la respuesta es que sí y que no hace falta que te vayas del país mientras esperas a que este proceso se complete, al menos que hayas entrado ilegalmente al país. Pero si se te expiró la visa, no hace falta.
Okay, great. All right, so Jarina is clarifying for me. So apparently these were the two questions that were on the form. Okay, so the first was, did you gain lawful permanent resident status through a U.S. citizen? And then the other question was, okay, and then the other question is basically based on the language you speak. Well, these are definitely questions that may be raised later on, especially you probably provided, I don't know if you, what evidence you attached. Those, and that's exactly why I would have to speak about this in a consultation because it's extremely detailed and I would not be able to answer the questions without knowing exactly what was attached and without knowing your circumstances in depth. So, unfortunately, I would not be able to elaborate on this. The application was accepted, which is good. However, you may receive further questions. So, what we would see usually is if they accept it, but there's missing information, they would do a request for evidence if it's definitely something that's relevant in your case or relevant for them to make a decision. So especially with that first question that says, um, okay, so you didn't answer the question if your brother or your sister was by adoption. And these are, yeah, these are definitely relevant questions. And so these may be questions that are going to be raised later on in the process since they've already accepted your application. So just, be on the lookout. And as I said before, if you're very, very concerned and you want to, submit changes to the application. These are things that I could talk to you in a private consultation about how to address the particular problem to make sure that you, for example, contact them to make the necessary corrections. Yes, so definitely, you could definitely submit changes, so submit corrections or changes to your application. That's definitely permissible. All right. So, Jarina, thank you for your questions. And just give me a call if you would like some in-depth information about how exactly to go about correcting that. All right. Thank you. So usually, if you are submitting corrections, usually you don't have to pay again. You just have to submit those changes. So you're so welcome. And remember, if in doubt, get legal help, okay? Because sometimes, you're doing a good thing by looking, by first of all, being conscious of the questions that you missed and seeking help, because some of these do end up being more significant, especially with these sort of questions that delve a little more into your background. So definitely get legal help if you're in doubt. But you don't usually have to pay for corrections though. Like you don't have to file a whole new application or file a whole new filing fee to um, to make a correction. All right. Thank you, Jarina. Sure. Yes. So Jarina is going to ask another question. So no, usually they do not ask for your background check. So usually they will definitely look into your spouse's background. That's a part of the process, but usually you are not going to be subject to a background check. All right. Okay, great. So we're just going to go ahead and continue with yes, have a good night to Jarina. Thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to continue with what I was saying. and that is the relationship. So in this case, if you have a relationship, a family relationship with a U.S. citizen, so a U.S. citizen parent, or legal permanent resident parent, a spouse, or a citizen child 21 and over, and they're refusing to file the papers on your behalf, this is a potential path to you getting your green card.
Bueno, entonces, si tenés una de estas relaciones familiares que mencionamos anteriormente, de una persona con ciudadanía, ya sea tu padre, tu cónyuge o tu hijo de 21 años o mayor, y esta persona se rehúsa a peticionar, a poner la solicitud para tu ciudadanía, entonces tenés posibilidades de peticionar para esta.
Right. So, for example, in the case with a U.S. citizen spouse, you may be, when we think about the VAWA application, which stands for Violence Against Women's Act, we think about physical violence and physical abuse.
Bueno, esto se llama VAWA, es el acta de violencia contra la mujer, ¿no? Y por lo general, cuando se piensa en esto, tendemos a pensar en violencia y abuso físico.
However, in this case, if someone is keeping you from getting your legal status in the United States, you could be currently married to them, you could be divorced from them for less than 2 years, then they are consciously preventing you from getting your green card because they want to maintain control over you, then definitely you should look into this form of relief. I'll let Noelia translate that part.
Bueno, sin embargo, en este caso, si alguien te está impidiendo conseguir la ciudadanía, ya sea tu marido o esposa, o también puedes estar divorciada siempre y cuando hayan pasado menos de 2 años. Si esta persona a propósito te está frenando el proceso de conseguir la tarjeta verde con propósitos de controlarte, entonces podés aplicar para esto.
Great. And we have another question here, and it's Piano Paradise. Thank you for joining in. And I do consultations via Zoom. You could call the office at 561-405-4889 to schedule a consultation, and then we could schedule a Zoom call to discuss your particular issue.
Preguntaron en los comentarios si ella hace consultas por Zoom. La respuesta es que sí. Deberían llamar a la oficina para agendar una consulta al número 561-405-4889.
And feel free to ask your general questions here. If not, definitely give me a call. Now, the great thing about this form of relief is that it doesn't have to be physical. It could be financial, it could be verbal, it could be emotional. It could be that they are using a pattern of behavior to control you or to intimidate you, such as manipulating you. So what I like, my rule of thumb is if you are in a marriage that is, you have many bad marital experiences and you are undocumented and you have a relationship with this U.S. citizen spouse, or even if you're separated, divorced for less than 2 years, or you are currently married with them, definitely seek my counsel. I can guide you through this form of relief.
Bueno, lo bueno de este tipo de solicitud es que el abuso no necesariamente tiene que ser físico. Puede ser financiero, puede ser emocional, puede ser que te controlen o te intimiden, te manipulan. Entonces, si estás en un matrimonio donde hay este tipo de malas experiencias o si te has divorciado dentro de menos de 2 años y no tenés documentos, busca ayuda profesional.
Right. Now, in addition to this, when you submit this application, you get the opportunity to apply for a work permit, and that gives you the freedom and independence. It's also confidential. Your spouse doesn't even have to know that you are filing this application. It's completely confidential. And you could even use my address instead of your address to maintain that the confidential nature of it.
Entonces, cuando envías esta aplicación, tenés la oportunidad de aplicar para un permiso de trabajo. Otra cosa es que también es completamente confidencial. Tu cónyuge no tiene por qué saber que estás peticionando para esto y de hecho no hace falta que pongas tu dirección, sino podés poner la de la abogada.
Now, when we talk about, the marital issues, is that, you're going through, okay, so we have a question from Piano Paradise. I'll just put it up here. Are there any ways for someone deported and given 10 years to return to come back early? Yes. I would definitely have to look further into your situation to see what your circumstances are, but there are definitely waivers available to come back before those 10 years. So definitely give my office a call. Let's go talk about your situation in detail so that I can let you know what you qualify for. And you can call me at 561-405-4889 to schedule that Zoom call. But there's definitely a way to come back. It's of course, it's never guaranteed, but there is an application process to return. Thank you for that question.
Bueno, en los comentarios preguntaron si hay una manera para alguien que fue deportado hace 10 años, perdón, que alguien que fue deportado y le dieron 10 años para poder volver al país, si hay alguna manera que pueda volver antes. Y la respuesta es que sí, hay maneras, obviamente no garantizadas, pero las hay, y depende de cada caso, y que para verlo con más profundidad habría que hacer una consulta con la abogada para que ella les pueda dar detalles. Para eso tendrían que llamar a la oficina al número 561-405-4889.
Great. So another thing, and this raises another thing with the form of relief I was talking about. If you entered the country, if you are here without your legal papers, if you entered the country unlawfully, if you have a visa overstay, if you have a previous deportation, this form of relief will still work for you, and you don't have to leave the United States. You could stay right here, get your work permit during the application process, and wait for the decision.
Si entras al país sin tus papeles, o sea, si entraste ilegalmente, o si se expiró tu visa, o si ya fuiste deportado antes, este proceso del que estamos hablando igual te sirve y de hecho podés quedarte en el país mientras esperás a que la aplicación sea aprobada.
Great. So, and the last thing I want to mention about this form of relief is that you don't have to provide police reports. We know that you may be in a tough situation, and their abuse and extreme cruelty comes in all different forms and shapes. It may not necessarily be physical hitting or physical restraint. It comes in more abstract forms. Because of this, you don't need to have a police report or any kind of medical documents proving any kind of physical abuse.
Bueno, para esta aplicación no es necesario que hayan denuncias penales. Sabemos que el abuso viene de distintas formas y no siempre es físico, es muy abstracto. Y por esto es que no es necesaria la denuncia policial ni documentos médicos.
Awesome. And with that, we have reached the end of our half an hour. I want to thank you, Jarina, I want to thank you, Piano Paradise, for asking your questions. These were very good questions. And I hope you give me a call. I would like to thank Noelia for keeping up with me. I promise,
You're welcome.
I promise that I'll slow down
No,
next.
don't worry, it was fine.
No, thank you for translating for me, and we'll be back again next Friday at 6:30. Thank you so much.